You know, when you give your all to your family, when you sacrifice your time, your energy, and even your hard-earned money just to make sure everyone feels loved, comfortable, and celebrated. The last thing you ever expect is to be treated like you're disposable, like you never mattered. And yet, that's exactly what happened to me this Christmas. I want you to imagine this. I had been planning for months, saving every penny I could, juggling work responsibilities, and cutting back on my own personal pleasures just so I could make the holiday season special for my family. I found this beautiful chalet, luxurious, warm, with a view that made you feel like the whole world had slowed down. Just for you, and I paid nearly $8,000 for the booking. It was supposed to be the perfect backdrop for our Christmas reunion, the place where laughter echoed, where stories flowed, where kids could run around freely, and where we could all forget our worries for just a few days. I had this vision in my head of us sitting around a roaring fire, sipping cocoa, maybe arguing playfully over board games, and feeling like the bond of family could withstand anything. But instead of gratitude, instead of appreciation, I received something so cruel, so cold, it left me staring at my phone screen in disbelief. They uninvited me. Yes, you heard that right. They told me, after everything was already paid for, after my dreams of togetherness had already taken root, that I wasn't welcome to spend Christmas with them. And in that moment, I felt like the ground beneath me had been ripped away, leaving me in free fall, asking myself over and over again, how could the people I love the most do this to me? At first, I thought maybe it was some kind of misunderstanding, like maybe someone worded the message poorly, or maybe there was a joke that didn't land right. But as I read through the group chat, line after line, it became painfully clear that it wasn't a mistake. My own siblings, the very people I grew up with, had been whispering among themselves, exchanging complaints behind my back, painting me as though I was some kind of controlling figure who only wanted to show off by renting the chalet. They accused me of doing it just to make them feel small, as if my intentions were rooted in pride rather than love. I sat there in shock, replaying the months of preparation in my head, the phone calls with the rental agency, the late nights calculating my budget, the excitement I felt every time I pictured my mom's smile when she'd step inside the chalet and see how beautifully decorated it was, or how my nephews and nieces would squeal running up the wooden stairs, claiming their little sleeping spaces. Every single detail was etched into my mind because I had poured my heart into it, and yet all they could see was some kind of power play. They even wrote things like, "It doesn't feel right that you're always the one calling the shots," and "We don't want to spend Christmas with someone who's just doing this to feed their ego. Do you know what it feels like to be accused of motives you never had? To be painted as a villain when all you wanted was to be the glue that kept everyone together. It's like being punished for caring too much." I kept scrolling, and then came the line that broke me completely. "We think it's better if you sit this one out." Just like that, cold, dismissive, final. I felt this wave of numbness wash over me. I stared at the blinking cursor as if somehow the screen would change, that maybe someone would come to their senses and type, "Wait, this is wrong. We can't do this." But nothing came. Only silence. And in that silence, I realized just how deeply unwanted I had become in my own family's celebration. I wish I could tell you that I brushed it off, that I told myself, fine, if that's how they feel, let them go. But the truth is, I sat there for hours, replaying every memory I had of my family, every sacrifice, every moment I thought we were bound together by something unbreakable. I remembered birthdays where I was the one buying the cake and decorating the living room because no one else bothered. I remembered the countless times I opened my wallet when someone was short on rent, or when a medical bill came unexpectedly, or when one of my nephews needed new school supplies. Never once did I ask for repayment. Never once did I dangle it over their heads. I did it because I believed family was supposed to be about lifting each other up. And now, here I was, looking at their words, being told in the cruelest way that my efforts were not only unappreciated but resented. The chalet had been my dream for us, all a place to remind us that we were more than arguments, more than grudges, more than the tension that sometimes bubbled under the surface. I imagined us laughing so hard that tears rolled down our cheeks, staying up late into the night, telling old stories, maybe even healing some of the wounds that we never addressed. But instead, they twisted my generosity into some sort of performance, like I had staged this entire thing to prove I was better than them. And the irony, I had chosen the chalet not for myself but for them, Because I knew they'd never spend that kind of money on themselves. Because I wanted them to feel a kind of luxury and peace they rarely allowed themselves to have. It hurt more than I can put into words, and as I sat there, staring at the invoice from the rental company, the one with my name on it, the one reminding me of the $8,000 already gone, I felt this hollowness creep into me, not because of the money, that was painful, sure, but because of the realization that no matter what I did, it would never be enough for them. Worse, it seemed like the more I gave, the more they resented me for it, and that thought shattered something inside me, a piece I don't think I'll ever get back. The days following that message felt surreal, almost like I was living in a dream I couldn't wake up from. I kept checking my phone, half hoping someone would call me, maybe my mother, maybe one of my sisters, to say, "Look, we overreacted. Of course you're coming, your family," but no call ever came. The group chat, the same one where I used to post updates about what food we should bring or whether the kids would like hot chocolate or cider, was now full of their excitement about the trip, as if I had never existed in the plan at all. They were talking about who would bring board games, who would be cooking dinner on Christmas Eve, even posting Pinterest pictures of decorations they wanted to try. Each message stung, not just because I was excluded, but because they were using the very chalet I had paid for. Walking into a celebration that existed only because of my efforts, and acting like I was nothing more than an afterthought, an inconvenience. At night, I would lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, and my mind wouldn't stop racing. I thought about how Christmas used to feel when we were kids, how we'd crowd around the small tree in our living room, the one with the same faded ornaments, year after year, the cheap tinsel that somehow still shimmered beautifully when the lights hit it just right. Back then, even though we didn't have much, we had each other. Or at least, I thought we did. We'd laugh at silly gifts, sing along badly to holiday songs, and fall asleep by the fireplace knowing that, no matter what, we were together. I tried to hold on to those memories like a lifeline, but they only deepened the pain, because it made me realize just how far we had drifted from the essence of family. Now, everything felt transactional, calculated, conditional, and I wondered, was it always this way and I just never noticed? Had I been fooling myself, believing in a bond that was never truly there, clinging to an idea of family that only existed in my own heart? Those questions haunted me, and the more I thought about them, the more I realized that maybe the real betrayal wasn't the uninviting itself, but the years of silence where no one ever truly appreciated what I brought into their lives. When the day of Christmas finally arrived, I woke up to a silence that felt heavier than any snowstorm outside my window. Usually, Christmas morning meant waking up to the buzz of my phone calls from my siblings, video chats with the nieces and nephews, pictures of them tearing open gifts, all of us laughing together even when we were miles apart. But this time, there was nothing, just stillness. I remember sitting at my small kitchen table with a mug of coffee that had gone cold, scrolling through social media only to see my family posting pictures from the chalet. There they were, standing in front of the massive decorated tree I had imagined us all around, their smiles stretched wide, captions dripping with excitement, "Best Christmas ever, so grateful for this magical place." My heart twisted because I knew exactly whose sacrifice made that magical place possible, and yet, not a single mention of me. It was like I had been erased. I clicked through the photos one by one, seeing my mother wrapped in a blanket by the fireplace, my nephews running around in their pajamas, my siblings clinking glasses at the dinner table I had dreamed of us sharing, and the worst part, they looked genuinely happy. They looked complete, as though my absence wasn't just unnoticed, it was preferred. The realization cut deep. I had been holding on to the belief that I was the glue holding us together, but maybe to them, I was more like an unwanted weight, something they were relieved to shrug off. I wanted to cry, to scream, to demand an explanation, but instead I just sat there, numb, scrolling, my fingers swiping through their happiness as if it were mocking me. And in that hollow moment, I promised myself something I had never dared to before. I would stop begging for a place in their lives. If they couldn't see my worth when I gave them everything, then maybe it was time to see my own worth without them. In the days after Christmas, while my family was still at the chalet enjoying the luxury I had paid for, I went through a storm. Inside myself, I replayed everything, every laugh we'd once shared, every fight we'd brushed under the rug, every sacrifice I had quietly made so no one else would have to carry the burden. and the more I thought, the clearer it became. Maybe this wasn't just about Christmas. Maybe this was the truth of how they had always seen me, not as a sibling, not as a son or daughter, not as someone whose love mattered, but as a resource, a safety net, a wallet. When I wasn't useful, when my giving didn't align with their comfort, they discarded me without hesitation. That realization broke me in a way I can't fully explain. Because it wasn't just the sting of being excluded from one holiday, it was the shattering of an illusion I had carried for years. I had believed so strongly in this idea of family, in the warmth and loyalty of blood ties, that I blinded myself to the pattern that had been repeating over and over again. And now, stripped of that illusion, I saw everything with painful clarity. They had taken from me, again and again, without ever giving back. They had leaned on me in their moments of weakness, but resented me when I stood tall. And when I tried to create something beautiful, something meant to unite us, they twisted it into something ugly and cut me out. That night, as I sat alone, on my couch, the glow of the Christmas lights I had put up only for myself flickering against the walls, I made a decision. For the first time in my life, I would stop chasing their approval. I would stop giving to people who only knew how to take. It terrified me, because walking away from family feels like breaking some sacred rule, like tearing out a piece of your own heart, but it also felt strangely liberating. For once, I wasn't going to beg for love where it wasn't freely given. For once, I was going to choose me. As the new year approached, something inside me shifted. Instead of staring at pictures of the chalet and wondering why I wasn't good enough to be there, I began to think about what it meant to finally step out of that cycle. I started small, taking myself out to dinner without guilt, buying a gift for myself that I would have once saved for someone else, even going on quiet walks where I let my thoughts unravel without rushing to fix them. And with every small act, I felt a piece of strength returning, a strength I didn't know I had because I had spent so long pouring it into others. One night, I sat down and wrote a letter to my family, not one I planned to send, but one that let me release everything I had been carrying. I wrote about the chalet, about the betrayal, about years of giving without receiving, and then I wrote the words I had never allowed myself to. I don't need you to see my worth anymore. I see it now. When I read it back, tears streamed down my face, but they weren't the bitter, aching tears of Christmas morning. They were cleansing, almost freeing. I realized that sometimes family isn't the people you're born into, it's the people who actually stand by you, who celebrate you without condition, who don't make you feel like you have to earn your place. And maybe I hadn't found those people yet, but for the first time in my life, I was open to the idea that I deserved them. So when my siblings finally came back from their chalet trip and casually texted me pictures, acting as if nothing had happened, I didn't reply with anger, and I didn't beg for explanations. I simply didn't reply at all, because silence, in that moment, was my boundary, and in that silence, I found peace. So yes, they uninvited me from the $8,000 Christmas I paid for, but in doing so, they gave me something I never expected. The chance to finally invite myself into a life where I choose my own joy, where my love is not a bargaining chip, and where my worth is never up for debate again.